The movement toward minimal ingredient eating reflects a growing frustration with modern food systems and the overwhelming presence of ultra-processed foods in everyday life. More people are adopting the rule of choosing products with 5 ingredients or fewer, convinced that shorter labels mean cleaner, safer, and healthier eating. Influencers show off minimalist pantry staples, from bread made with flour, water, salt, and yeast to nut butters containing only 1 ingredient, and they market this as a return to simplicity, a way to repair energy, digestion, and overall well-being. On the surface, this trend seems like a reasonable reaction to ingredient overload, but the reality is more complicated, and the shift can create its own risks, blind spots, and unintended pressures. The appeal is understandable. Ultra-processed foods are engineered for palatability, shelf stability, and convenience, and they often contain additives, emulsifiers, sweeteners, and industrial stabilizers that people don't recognize or trust. These foods can disrupt satiety cues, increase cravings, and contribute to inflammation and metabolic issues when consumed excessively. Minimal ingredient advocates feel empowered by reclaiming control over what they eat, framing simple foods as inherently superior to anything with a long label. And to be fair, many simple foods, whole fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, fish, eggs, whole grains, do promote better health. The strategy also encourages home cooking, label awareness, and a shift away from hyperpalatable snacks and drinks. But even though the intentions are positive, minimal ingredient eating often oversimplifies the complexity of nutrition and, ironically, can create a new set of problems. For one, the number of ingredients is not a reliable indicator of healthfulness. A packaged snack with 3 ingredients can still be a calorie-dense, low-nutrient product high in sugar and saturated fat. Meanwhile, some nutrient-rich foods, like fortified cereals, plant milks, or certain whole-grain breads, naturally have more than 5 ingredients because they contain added vitamins, minerals, or functional ingredients that support health. The trend encourages a black-and-white mindset that equates unfamiliar words on a label with toxicity, even when many additives are harmless or used in tiny, inconsequential amounts. This can lead to unnecessary fear, confusion, and avoidance of foods that might actually be beneficial for certain individuals. Another issue is accessibility. It's easy for influencers with time, money, and flexible schedules to romanticize minimal ingredient living, but not everyone has access to fresh produce, specialty stores, or the luxury of cooking from scratch. People in food deserts or with limited budgets often rely on affordable processed foods, and shaming them for eating items with longer labels creates a kind of nutritional elitism. It also ignores the fact that many processed foods, canned beans, frozen vegetables, plain yogurt, are nutritionally strong options that fit into diverse lifestyles. The trend subtly reinforces the idea that health is tied to purchasing power, which can widen social and psychological divides around eating. Minimal ingredient eating can also foster obsession and rigidity. As people begin scrutinizing labels, some may become anxious about hidden additives, preservatives, or ingredients they can't pronounce. This kind of hypervigilance can border on orthorexia, where the pursuit of purity overwhelms practicality and enjoyment. Teens and young adults, who are especially susceptible to perfectionistic wellness trends, may start to fear any food that doesn't fit neatly into the 5-ingredient rule, cutting out convenience foods they genuinely need due to time constraints or budget limitations. And when life inevitably becomes hectic, people may feel guilt or shame for relying on something that deviates from their rigid guidelines. There's also a sustainability paradox hidden within this trend. Many simple, minimally processed foods are perishable, requiring refrigeration, careful planning, and frequent grocery trips. This makes the lifestyle harder to maintain for people with inconsistent schedules or limited kitchen space. Ironically, certain processed foods have a lower environmental footprint because they reduce waste, last longer, and are easier to transport. The minimal ingredient trend rarely addresses this nuance, presenting simplicity as the morally superior choice even when the full picture is more complex. Most importantly, the movement can distract from what truly matters in nutrition: overall dietary patterns. Eating mostly whole foods is beneficial, but health isn't determined by the number of ingredients. It's determined by nutrient quality, fiber intake, protein adequacy, meal balance, and long-term consistency. People can become so focused on counting ingredients that they overlook whether they're getting enough iron, omega-3s, calcium, or diverse plant fibers. Minimalist eating can unintentionally lead to monotonous diets that lack key nutrients, especially when people cut out fortified foods without replacing those nutrients elsewhere. In the end, minimal ingredient eating is a well-intentioned attempt to push back against an overly processed food landscape, but it risks turning simplicity into another restrictive and moralized diet. While the trend highlights important issues, like ingredient transparency and overprocessing, it often ignores context, accessibility, and personal needs. When taken to an extreme, it can create nutritional gaps, anxiety around normal foods, and unrealistic expectations that don't fit modern life. The real solution isn't to fear long ingredient lists, it's to cultivate balance, focus on nutrient density, and build sustainable habits that work in everyday environments, not just in curated online kitchens.